Now, the Buffalo Bills haven't done this since 2018, specifically when they ended up shipping off Cordy Glenn to, I want to say, the Cincinnati Bengals in the 2018 draft, and then ultimately ended up trading up even further with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to receive Josh Allen. It's often a strategy with some teams that if they are trying to move around the board, oftentimes significantly, they also package in a player. Now, this is a strategy that has been done to move up in the second, in the third, in the fourth. So on today's episode, we are going to be exploring the possibilities of, are we going to say goodbye to any current players on this roster to advance a specific strategy? Now, before I start giving some of the candidates here, I do want to say I don't believe this is going to happen, largely because we all know how Sean McDermott and this coaching staff typically operates, loves having rookies on a short leash, putting a lot of reliance on some of the veterans and then eventually implementing these rookies later on into the season. However, I have identified three potential players that I think could be on the move if, for example, they wanted to leverage this overall strategy based off of the timing of their contracts, and then also whether or not I feel like the room would be crowded in and of itself. So fasten your seatbelts, folks. Very excited to dive into this hypothetical. And that's exactly what it is, a hypothetical. But it's fun to talk about. It is the off season. Folks, my name is Dan Mitchell. I am the host of the Bills Mafia Report. I am owner of Roundtable Sports, your NFL network online. And I cannot thank you enough for making my shows a part of your daily routine. I am live twice a week, Monday through Friday. And if you are joining the live stream now, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign so we can propel it through the YouTube algorithm. And when you subscribe, make sure that you turn on bell notifications because as you will notice, I will talk for about 15 to 20 minutes at the beginning of each episode. And then the remainder of the show is where my live audience takes control of the conversation in a live Q&A segment. So certainly make sure that you hit those bell notifications for those of you watching the replay episode. And for those of you that are listening on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts, I also do encourage that if you are enjoying the show, just please do me a favor and leave a rating and review, and also consider finding me on YouTube, linked in this description, or you can quite simply just search up Dan Mitchell. So, will the Buffalo Bills do this for the first time since 2018? Let's unpack. The first candidate that I wanted to bring to light just so happens to be an edge rusher that I could almost guarantee you 75% of us forgot that he was on this team. And that just so happens to be AJ Epenesa. Now, we drafted him in the second round a couple of years back. We recently gave him a 2-year extension. And he's been a quality rotational defensive end for this team. He's still 26 years old. He will be 27 at some point next year in the NFL. So he certainly has a bit of value for any specific NFL team that, say, for example, that they need an edge rusher, but they don't need an edge rusher in the first and or the second round. They need a quality rotational guy. And they're like, you know what? I feel like I would be more than happy to take on AJ Epenesa's, $7.4 million cap hit when it comes into it. Say the Buffalo Bills were to pull this off, the dead cap wouldn't be too crazy, would be around $4.1 million. And then 2025 savings would be close to about $3.3 million. And the reason that I look at this as a potential trade candidate is, let's look at our edge rushing room already. I understand Joey Bosa is only on a 1-year deal, but that's production right there. Of course, assuming that he stays healthy. You have Gregory Rousseau, and then you also have Javon Solomon, who has been highly touted. Many are targeting him to be a second-year leap candidate for this team. And a lot of people are suggesting that Buffalo is likely going to walk away with an edge rusher, at least at some point during this draft class. Some are saying that Bean could shock the world and take one in the first round or the second round or the third round, what have you. AJ Epenesa, while he has been quality rotation as I will continue to say, I think that he has a lot of value to potential NFL teams where, say that we're sitting there and we're like, you know what? We really want to get into the third round. We want to find a way to get into the third round, and just a standard, hey, here's a couple of fourth rounders. We could end up packaging an AJ Epenesa and a fourth round pick to maybe get in toward the bottom of the third round. Who knows? I think that this would be a solid strategy. I love the fact that he's 27 years old. This is very much so like the Michael Hoyts of the world. He is also 27. He had quite a bit of value when LA ended up walking away from him. So AJ Epenesa would be my first potential trade candidate for us to advance a specific draft strategy. Next up is a bit more interesting, and bear with me here. And this is ultimately going to turn out, or ultimately going to come to fruition based off of how the Buffalo Bills address this defensive tackle position. I feel like every mock draft that I have done for the past couple of weeks, and several other mock drafts that I have looked over, a huge trend in Bills Mafia is double dipping at the defensive tackle position, right? You oftentimes cannot find a mock draft where two defensive tackles have not been selected, right? Several where you see Kenneth Grant going in the first, maybe Derek Harmon. But then in the fourth or the fifth round, you see the likes of a Joshua Farmer and or an Alfred Collins also selected. This class needs to be deep here. And DaQuan Jones, who is 33 years old, he played very well for us during his time in Buffalo. Certainly wish that he wouldn't have had that sense of regression last year in 2024, but still a quality guy. His cap hit is sitting at around $9.4 million in 2025, and he is an unrestricted free agent in 2026. Now, when you look at the potential value here, the 2022 savings, or excuse me, the 2025 savings would be at around $4 million, and dead cap would be at about 5.3. Now, do remember, when it comes into dead cap for me, do realize that dead cap is money that has already been spent, that has already hit the pockets, hit the bank account of that specific player. Regardless, that money is on the books for that player. Happens with every single contract. It's just how it is. When you look at how the NFL has been increasing their overall cap room and or their cap space for each and every single team across the league all year, $30 million to be exact, this is largely pennies. So the finances make sense here for a potential DaQuan Jones shipping. But let's discuss why it would make sense logistically. Defensive tackle in DaQuan Jones, again, I do believe that he has showed signs of regression in 2024, right? And then number two, I think this defensive tackle room, depending on if Brandon Beane goes the direction that a lot of us are predicting that he is going to go, may be a bit overcrowded. But here's why this one, I'm not as confident. And first off, I do want to say that I'm not even confident that we are going to ship off any player at all. However, I think DaQuan Jones makes a bit less sense than AJ Epenesa, because we look at the history of this coaching staff over in Buffalo, and they really don't like to throw the rookies into the wolves. So many examples where we saw the first couple of games for James Cook in his rookie season where he fumbled, never saw him again, and McDermott ended up going back to a trusty veteran. Same thing with Cole Bishop when he got burned by Nico Collins on that massive post route in Houston. Didn't see him for quite some time either. So if DaQuan is really going to be on the move on draft day, they would need to be so confident that whoever we walked away with was going to fill that production and then some. An improvement from the production we saw last year from DaQuan by himself. However, I'm sure you'll be noticing a trend as I'm going through these specific players, but both of them are on the final years of their deal, and the cap savings are somewhat justified, and the dead cap is minimal at best. And the last player, and I know everyone's going to be excited about this one, although that I do not believe this is going to happen. But again, what we are discussing here are possibilities. possibilities. James Cook. Could James Cook potentially be on the move, a draft day transaction for the Buffalo Bills to move up a couple of places? I can tell you this. If it were to be a possibility, if it were to be a reality, we could go on ahead and just wash our hands of this being moved away or us shipping off James Cook to move up in the first. Dare I say, I don't even believe that we would be able to leverage a James Cook trade on top of additional draft compensation to move up in the second. This would have to be we want to get into the third round because, again, as I have said, over and over and over again, it doesn't make sense from a financial perspective, putting my shoes in all 32 front offices in the NFL to trade for a running back, right? That is not a third down back, is not a bell cow who wants $15 million a year and pass up on the deepest running back class that the NFL has seen in quite some time with the option of paying them rookie deals. However, it could happen. I'm sure that there is some interest across the league. Cough, cough, Jerry Jones would probably bite at this opportunity, right? But I think when it comes down into it, if, for example, a team was interested, they would have had to miss on their guy. Like, we would need to see a couple of teams that were targeting a Cam Scatabo, for example, but they just couldn't make it happen. This would need to be my God, we couldn't get this quote-unquote generational prospect. We couldn't get Omarion Hampton. We couldn't get Dylan Sampson. We couldn't get Cam Scatabo. Buffalo, they're pretty interested in sending him over so that they can move into the third round. All right, let's have a call. However, again, I think that he is a Buffalo Bill this year. But how it would look financially, as I'm sure many of us have already predicted, not all that bad. His cap hit is about $5.7 million this year. It is tied in exclusively, or at least the vast majority of it is in his base salary, meaning that he needs to play each and every single game. So a team that would want to trade for him would more than likely, and depending on their cap situation, of course, would need to extend him immediately and ideally to something that he would potentially like, or he could even hold out from that situation. However, if, for example, Buffalo were to trade James Cook, automatically we save $5.3 million in cap savings, and dead cap would be, I'd say, centralized around $355,000. Not that that's very exciting, because free agency is over with. Outside of a couple of players that are still sneaky free agents still available, there's a reason those guys are sneaky free agents still available at any given moment right here. So savings really isn't a big piece to me, but I think it's just an additional detail. Moving on from all three of these potential players, one being AJ Epenesa, one being DaQuan Jones, and last but not least, of course, James Cook, are the three candidates that I could see Buffalo potentially leveraging so that we can move up anywhere within the NFL draft. Vast majority of these guys, I don't think that we're going to be able to ship them off in a package to move up significantly into the first round. I don't see us being able to, hop up to pick 15 with the Atlanta Falcons, for example, with a package James Cook in a fourth round, or a package AJ Epinesa and a DaQuan Jones from there. But it's an interesting chess move that Bean potentially has under his sleeve. Man, you know what? It's speculation season over here on the Dom Mafia Report. And you know that I love chopping it up with my friends in the live chat. As previously stated, this is the portion of the show where I end up exclusively transitioning over to my live chat to perform our Q&A segment. When you submit your questions, guys, please do me a favor and lead the sentence with a Q and a dash so I can easily decipher between statements and questions. Very excited to hop into this, man. Smash that like button again. And for those of you listening on the podcast form, please do me a favor and leave a rating and review if you are enjoying this episode already. Look at that. Deshaun Santiago has come in with the opening statement of our Q&A segment here on the Dom Mafia Report. I understand that the Bills have big needs for defensive tackle, edge rusher, DB, and wide receiver. I would rather have the Bills draft a DB because we need someone to start now versus a project player and or Dane Jackson. So the thing is that I don't necessarily believe that all talent is exclusively in the first round. I think that's a pretty common misconception when people look at it. And just look at the 2022 NFL draft as a perfect example, right? We drafted Kyer Elam in the first round, right? Like that was ideally the right pick, right? Because we needed a corner. Like that was a big need for the Buffalo Bills. But then look at all of our later picks. All of our later picks in the mid rounds were truly impactful players that made this team what they are today. You have James Cook, who was taken in the second. You had Terrell Bernard. You had Christian Benford. You had Khalil Shakir in the later rounds. Just because you don't walk away with a position in the round that you want to does not mean that the player that we do end up with is going to be impactful by any stretch, right? Now, CB2 for me, yeah, it's great, but stylistically, it's not nearly as much of a need for me as a one-tech defensive tackle. It's really, really not, right? Like, yes, of course, we want to solidify our secondary, but we're looking at a defense. And I do apologize if I have said this over and over and over again, but I do believe it's true, right? We had a defense that had no problem getting turnovers. We were second in the league, first in the league at one point in turnover differential. We took the football away, right? Like that was our identity on defense. That was one of the factors that saved us from quite a few scary metrics. And the CB2 that we're so desperate to replace, he provided 0 of those turnovers last year, right? So at bare minimum, at absolutely basement floor, we are rolling out the same secondary as we have last year, as we did last year. That, might I remind you, had a knack for taking the football away. Aaron Johnson, Benford, Rapp, Cole Bishop, the whole nine. And don't sleep on the coverage chops that our linebackers have as well. So when I look at prioritizing, a defensive tackle for me is more important because that's where you have the scary statistics. Our secondary saved our asses for some of the problems that we had in the trenches last year. That was getting to the quarterback, and that was stopping third down conversions. Stopping third down conversions, surprisingly enough, I am putting a hell of a lot more blame on a defensive line that's giving a quarterback 3 to 4 seconds to throw the football and find his open man. So that's my thought here. That is my thought here. We have Movie Madness. He's coming in with a question, and I appreciate you leveraging the format. Don't worry, we're going to be able to make it happen here. All right. Movie Madness. Can we trade Cook and Samuel for Jordan Addison and Aaron Jones and a 4th rounder? I don't think that you're going to see as in-depth trades like that on draft day. More often than not, like you're going to see a specific player and a pick or two, perhaps even a future pick to move up in any given round, for example. I don't believe that something like that would happen. Now, Samuel, that is something that would really not behoove us at all because we are tied in on a contract that just does not make sense. And where we stand currently, we only have 4 wide receivers on this team that, in my opinion, have a shot at making the squad. Josh Palmer, Shakir, Coleman, and Curtis Samuel. Those are the only 4 that we have. And Buffalo typically runs with 6 wide receivers. If Laviska Shenault, if he beats out Cordington as the kick returner, say that he beats him out, then that's the 5th spot for a wide receiver. So really, we only need 1 more. I don't think Samuel would be a trade target because, number one, the dead cap would be insane. Not enough cap savings. Just does not make sense, man. Does not make sense here. We have Mikey has come in. Thoughts on late round 2 players you would like to see in Buffalo, like Watts, Collins, Lott, possibly a corner we see slide since right now we don't have a 3rd round pick? That's a great question, Mikey. It really is. So late rounds, late 2nd rounders, say, for example, we don't move up at all in the 2nd. And hypothetically, let's just say that we still need all positions of need. Corner, I love Azareye'h Thomas out of Florida State. He is a perfect scheme fit. He's probably second most scheme fit next to Will Johnson and Trey Amos. And Trey Amos and Will Johnson are going to be gone in the first. Maybe Amos slides to the beginning of the second. But I love Azareye'h Thomas. He's standing out to me. I do like Omar Norman Lott as well. Love him as a potential get. Now, obviously, I would prefer a Tyleik Williams, but I think that we have all agreed he's probably early second as well. But those late seconds would be fantastic. And then wide receiver, I would probably go Jalen Royals and or Kyle Williams, who has been skyrocketing up draft boards. He is now projected as a late second rounder as well. So those are the three that I would be looking for, but obviously depending on what we end up spending our first round pick on. Those three. Have Omar Norman Lott, have Azareye'h Thomas, have Jalen Royals. That's where I'm sitting. Perhaps even Landon Jackson. He could potentially be this guy. Drew has come in with a question. I'd love to see it. Who is your number one whole shot pick right now, Dan? Home run pick for me, man. Number one, it's Kenneth Grant. He's my favorite in the first round. I think that he is a day one contributor. I honestly think that he is automatically better than DaQuan Jones. I think that he gives a 2x production-wise performance than a DaQuan Jones compared to last year. He's just a perfect fit, man. He's a big body. He's going to draw double teams from the offensive line. He's going to open up production all over the defense. We're finally going to be able to get to the quarterback, and he has semi-decent pass rushing chops himself. Grant, bar none, favorite prospect in this draft based off of what we need. Based off of what we need. We have Dexy Gaming has come in, and he has provided a mock draft for all of us to react to here. He goes, Dan, mock number 9. We have Trey Amos. Corner was the first pick. We have Timolo, a defensive end for the second selection. Andrew Makuba, a safety. You have Joshua Farmer, a defensive tackle. You have Kyle Williams, wide receiver. CJ West, defensive tackle. Trevor Etienne, running back. Have Willie Lampkin, guard. Keandre Lambert-Smith, wide receiver. And Sean Dolak, a linebacker. One thing I can tell you about, I am not a Trevor Etienne guy. I saw him in Mobile, Alabama during the Senior Bowl. And talk about Butterfingers. Talk about Butterfingers. He is significantly undersized. He cannot hold on to the football. I would probably have to pass on a Trevor Etienne. But other than that, not terrible. I do like Joshua Farmer, but I will tell you what about Joshua Farmer. He is a double dip candidate for me, right? Like he would be a solid addition to this team, but say that we were going into the season saying that the guy that's going to be filling the shoes of DaQuan Jones once his contract expires, say that we don't move on from him, probably be a little nervous. I'd probably be a little nervous. But then again, we do have a 2026 NFL draft as well. So not all future needs need to be addressed this year. All right, we have a statement here from Salvatore. He's saying, trade David Edwards, expiring contract, $4 million in cap savings. We have competent backup. Salvatore is coming in and saying, David Edwards. Man, you know what? I'm not sure if I want to rip apart that offensive line play that we had last year. I think that David Edwards is largely going to be somebody we do not bring back next off season. And I did think that Buffalo has a sneaky need of bringing in a left guard in the later rounds to sort of fill those shoes and at least start to ramp him up. Or worst case scenario, next draft, our biggest need is a left guard, and that would be our first round draft selection, of course, in 2026. But I'm not sure how I feel specifically of moving on from David Edwards just yet, right? I suppose you could plug and play Alec Anderson, who is our sixth man, but I mean, we'll see if somebody's in desperate need of a guard. Who knows? He could potentially be another guy, man. Look at that. Salvatore, I appreciate that. We have Deshaun. He's coming in with another statement here. He says, I believe Elam was a weird project player for the Bills. Okay, I understand that. But there is no guarantee that we'll get a Benford type in the late rounds. Yes, so I understand that. And I don't think that Buffalo is going to wait for a late round for a corner, right? And do remember, like, we lucked out for that. I could almost guarantee you that a corner will be selected within the first 2 picks of the NFL draft. It is either going to go corner, defensive tackle, or defensive tackle and corner. I honestly think that is how it's going to work out. And there are several prospect fits in this draft that I think would be an automatic fit for this team. Drew has come in. He's following up on his previous question. And he says, what do you think the Bills would have to give up to get high enough to get Grant? It's strange. It's very polarizing because there are some mock drafts. I feel like every single mock draft that's done by the Daniel Jeremiahs of the world, that's done by the Mel Kipers of the world, have Grant falling to about 30. Like, have him right in that sweet spot. But then when you talk to fans or like you see PFF, you see him going as high right to Pittsburgh. In fact, I would say that Pittsburgh has been the highest consistent team I have seen grabbing Kenneth Grant at about 21, perhaps. I feel like he would be at 24. And I genuinely believe that he would be at pick 24, which would potentially be trading up with the Minnesota Vikings. And largely, I think how we could get that done, especially since they only have 5 draft picks, I think, maybe 6. We could probably send them over a pick swap in the 1st and a 4th round, because that's largely what it has cost the past 2 times that Buffalo has moved up marginally in the draft. So I think that if you want Kenneth Grant, you're probably going to have to trade up to about 24. More than likely, I think that we'll be able to see him here. We have question. Menace Chucks has said, Dan, and did you see Mel's mock 3.0? Maxwell Harrison, round 1. Tyleik Williams, the 2nd. Xavier Watts as the 2nd rounder. Man, listen, I love that so far. You have Maxwell, fastest corner in the NFL. Dare I say, it's not in the NFL, but in the draft class upcoming. He ran a 4.2940, which is crazy for a corner. Tyleik Williams, who I would love as well as a defensive tackle on this team. He is a scheme fit, right? And then Watts. I'm not sure about Watts. Because many of you know that one of my late round safety draft crushes is Billy Bowman. He is a scheme fit. It just came out that Buffalo took him out to dinner, I believe, before or after his pro day. So it sounds like that he is on the Bills' radar. And when we need a safety, we need somebody that absolutely excels in coverage. But say that we address corner and defensive tackle within our first 2 picks in the 1st round and going into the 2nd round. And so we see like Jalen Royals or we see Kyle Williams like staring us in the face. Got to get those guys. Right? Gotta get those guys. We have Dexy Gaming saying, Dan, CJ West would be the 1 tech and Farmer would be the multi-use defensive tackle since he can play 1 tech and 3 tech. And that could cause problems next to Ed. Hey, man, listen, I'm excited to see how it plays out. I'm excited to see how I played out. We have Juan Torres. What the hell, Dan? I made this comment yesterday in the Q&A. I should get credit for today's topic. Juan, shout out to Juan. Shout out to Juan for the inspiration. He did indeed, my friend. Hey, listen, you know what? I thought that it was interesting to talk about It's funny because it hasn't happened since 2018. The Bills walking away with a current player, leveraging a current player so that they could move up. Like utilize it as a specific chess piece. So Juan, I appreciate that. Let's see. Keith and Suzanne, what is going on? How are you doing? Do you predict the Bills will make changes to play more like Kansas City, dominating the Eagles? If so, what changes will they make? So I think what the Buffalo Bills want to do is not necessarily mimic what Philadelphia does, but sort of take certain aspects of the game. I think that they've realized that it is important to create pressure on the QB. I don't think that they have gone years and years saying that that wasn't a priority. I just think that we have had several like swings and misses in putting together a solid defensive line. Sean McDermott is a secondary guy. Like he has always been known in him being able to get the most out of his DBs and also his linebackers, right? But we've had a problem, I think, throughout his entire tenure of finally being able to get a solid defensive line unit that can create particular pressure, right? And it all starts with that interior. I think Ed Oliver still has his chops. I still think Ed Oliver, if paired with the correct one-tech defensive tackle, could have a game-wrecking season, could have well over 10 sacks. He's good. He's very, very good. Problem is that we've seen inconsistent one-tech defensive tackle play for the past couple of years, right? Like, so we drafted Ed, had a couple of good years with Starr next to him, but then Starr started fizzling out, sat out for the 2020 season, and then in 2021 had a down year that ultimately ended up retiring. Bring in DaQuan Jones, solid first year, but was injured, missed a lot of the season last year. Was not the same player. So I feel like that we're looking to solve something that has always been a problem, but we just haven't been able to figure it out from a personnel basis. Dexy Gaming is coming saying, Dan, and do you not like Andrew Makuba? He is my guy at safety, being one of the only deep ball safeties in the draft. Plus, he would give Rapp the chance to go back to how he likes to play. Solid prospect, and Buffalo has already met with him. He is also on my list as a potential. Again, when it comes into safety for me, so a lot of the times when somebody suggests Sebastian Castro, for example, like, Dan, like, why don't you like him? Because I don't think that he's the type of safety that we need. We need somebody that is not somebody that you can line up in the box. That's a solid downhill, like, safety that can make plays in the run game. We need a dude that could be a ball hawk out there, that has great vision, that has semi-decent speed, ball skills. We need a Micah Hyde again, a prime Micah Hyde, somebody that provides that oomph in defending the pass. That's specifically. And I do like Makuba. I do like him as well. And do you root for any other teams outside of football? Dude, you know what? That is a great question. I feel like I'm a casual fan for every single other sport outside of football. Like, yeah, like I was watching March Madness and I do enjoy it. But as far as me like being like a rabid fan, probably not, right? So baseball, I am an Atlanta Braves fan, and that was because when I was 12 years old, my family moved me down south from Buffalo, and my uncle was a big Braves fan. He'd take me there all the time, so I'd see some stuff there. Also a UGA Bulldogs fan, same exact story. My uncle, season tickets, take me there all the time, and so I'd root for them as well. Hockey, the Sabres, but I'll be completely honest with you. I know nothing about hockey. I don't know the rules. I would be a total casual, bro. Like watching it, I wouldn't even be able to tell you what offsides means, to be honest. And that's embarrassing, I know, from a guy that was born in Buffalo, but it's just been football for me. It's just been football for me. I did play baseball growing up too, so like I said, I did enjoy playing, but as far as getting into it and watching it with a passion, no. So the off season tends to hurt me a tad more than I think it would hurt other people, because my sports fix just really isn't there. Spidey Munn saying, I guess this would be a question for after the draft, but as of now, with all the moves that have been made by other teams, who do you have winning their division as of right now? So I think that I could still give a pretty good guess. So the AFC East is Buffalo. That is almost unanimous. I do see the Patriots being a challenge, but I do see them finishing in second place with double-digit wins. I'd say about 10. Very high on the Vrabel campaign here. I have the AFC South. I'm going to give it to Houston once again. The AFC West, I am going to give it to the Kansas City Chiefs until proven otherwise. I want Harbaugh to figure it out. I'm excited to see what he does in the draft to challenge Kansas City. One of these days, someone's going to take that team down, but until proven otherwise, I cannot take that away. And then AFC North, I, surprisingly enough, am going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. And that, of course, is as if Aaron Rodgers decides to go. I'm still high on Rodgers, especially being with Tomlin. And you can already guarantee, carve it in stone, that Mike Tomlin is going to lead them to bare minimum 9 wins. With DK Metcalf, with the defense, and depending on how their draft goes, I'm really high on the Steelers winning their division. Going over to the NFC West, I have the LA Rams winning that one. I think that they have a very promising, youthful defense. It's interesting now that Devontae Adams is on the team. Same thing with Puka Nacua. That is basically an upgrade as far as the health department. The NFC South, oh man, this is my hot take. The Carolina Panthers will win the NFC South next year. That is my hot take. I think Bryce Young continues to take that next step. He was very impressive toward the back half of the season. I think that he ends up stealing that division from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just wait. Just wait on it, baby. The Panthers are coming. Then the NFC North, I'm going to give it to the Lions. I think that although that they have transitioned on their coordinators, they still have some very talented personnel. And I could care less if I was the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. I think that that team is too talented to fail. Hopefully they don't hit the injury bug as aggressively as they did last year. And then what division was I missing out on? South, West, North, East. East. Give me the Washington Commanders. Give me the Washington Commanders to win this division. That's what I got. But again, that is way too soon. We need to see how the draft plays out. But we shall see. All right, we have Mikey has come in with a question. Anyone pique your interest as an unrestricted free agent signing or an undrafted free agent, like special team players and positions? So specific players, I'll just go out and be completely honest with you. I don't have anybody that comes to mind. Say that Sean Dolak, so the guy out of UB, say that he goes as an undrafted free agent. I would be interested in bringing him in, especially since Matt Milano is going to be on his final year of his contract this year. I don't think Buffalo is going to entertain a reunion. And then punters, right? Although that I think that Kamara is not as bad as people think, right? Like was top 3, top 4 in average like punt yards last year. So I think that he would be pretty good too. So those would probably be it. But as far as like diving into the deep tape of a specific soon to be undrafted free agent, I think that those are really the only positions that I have been looking at the beginning. Spin has come in with his predictions for division winners: Rams, Eagles, Tampa Bay, Lions, Bills, Ravens, Texans, and Chargers. Division winners, book it. Spin is preying on the downfall of the Kansas City Chiefs. I love it. That was brave, my friend, and I admire bravery. I really do. At first, I was like, come on, man. It's safe picks. Safe picks. Give me a break. Do something different. And you did do something different, man. You said the Chargers were going to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West. Don't sleep on Harbaugh, baby. Don't sleep on Harbaugh. David Abbott has come in with a question through Facebook. He's saying, in the event of a defensive-oriented draft and a negative result in the playoffs, do you think McDermott could be fired? So I love this question, David, right? Because I feel that after every playoff blunder or every playoff failure, I feel like you ask any Bills fan and we would say yes, a resounding yes. But I just don't think that the ownership is going to do it because I try to look at it through a real life lens. And I try to put myself in the shoes of how I would operate my day to day if I was the Pagulas. If I'm the Pagulas, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the Buffalo Bills, who have given me several division titles, deep playoff runs each and every single year, almost a guaranteed home playoff game each and every single year, lining my pockets with crazy cash. And then I compare it to my other asset, the Buffalo Sabres. And I look at, holy hell, do I really want to risk this type of consistency and walk away from Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott when I see this? And I also think that the Bagulas are not like knee-jerk reaction type people, right? I do think that they know that Buffalo has just had this daunting rain cloud of untimely injuries hit their front doorstep at peak times, right? And it sucks, right? Because like you look at some of the players that we have that have missed out on games specifically, like some people are saying Christian Benford. They're like, oh, dude, like Benford's injury prone. Problem is that he's not, right? Like, dude, like really has only missed a handful of games his entire career. And unfortunately, 2 of the 3 that he's missed were in very important playoff games. That's bad luck. Like, that's not like, okay, like this guy's missing 6 to 7 games a year, and that's just kind of it. So, short answer, I'd probably like be on board with moving on, but do I think the Pagulas would do it? No. I feel like the Pagulas would only do it if we saw Sean McDermott miss the playoffs entirely and have a losing record. And even then, I think that there would be a possibility where they would give him the benefit of the doubt, because that would be the first example of that happening through his tenure, obviously outside of Josh Allen's, of course, rookie season. But that's where I'm at. Matt C is saying, if McDermott doesn't make the Super Bowl this year, they better fire his ass. Are we going to waste all of Josh Allen's tenure with this bum? Let me tell you what, Matt, I think you're going to be disappointed. If Tomlin hasn't been fired, then McDermott shouldn't be. Look, like I said, we can sit here and we can argue back and forth about whether or not we believe Sean McDermott should be fired based off of these lists of accomplishments or so this pedestal that we want him to achieve. But it's not going to happen. Like, that's basically what I'm saying. Like, we can argue until we're blue in the face of whether or not we think that he should be. I can tell you right now that his leash is long as ever. I think Buffalo looks at Sean McDermott like Mike Tomlin. So all we need to do is just be thankful that we're always in a position to compete, that we're always in the, oh my God, if we just win one more game, we're there. It's how it is. It's how it is. It's not a matter of should he or if the fans could control who gets fired and who does not. It's just something that we need to accept. Weston has come in and said, because they say that every single year some other team is going to win the West, and it hasn't happened in 9 years. Damn. Who knows? Paul Costa has come in and has said, the Bills peaked a few years ago when they lost to their daddy with 13 seconds left on the clock. All right, guys, here's the deal. Once again, I am limiting trolls this year, so I'm fine with a couple of trolls here and there, but just don't distract my live chat audience, / don't be annoying, and you will not be blocked. Keith has come in and saying, Jim Harbaugh was a high school classmate of mine. Of course, he was the starting quarterback. Unfortunately, his passes often overpowered wide receivers. Shout out to Harbaugh, man. He's doing his thing. He is doing his thing. We have G. Diaz. He's coming in and saying, I don't know if this is wrong to think as a Bills fan, but I do think Allen should leave at some point of his prime. if our team keeps failing him in the playoffs. I don't believe Allen should leave at some point of his prime if our team keeps failing him in the playoffs. Why do I believe that this is a Dolphins fan and not a Bills fan? I could be wrong, but it's my biggest fear actually is that he never wins a Super Bowl, and then after his contract is over with, he signs a deal with like the 49ers in his first year as a 49er, he wins. I think that's going to be it. We have Deshaun Santiago is coming in with a question. In your opinion, what would be a big upset for you in the draft by the Buffalo Bills? A big upset for me would be a non-scheme fit, right? Like a big upset for me would be drafting a player that I think would need time to develop 2 to 3 years to fit our scheme. Some names that come out for me is number 1, Derek Harmon, number 1, Walter Nolan, 2 good players, but they just don't fit what Buffalo is trying to do. And we would have to ask them to do something that they weren't familiar with doing throughout their entire collegiate career. And quite frankly, I just don't have the patience for that. I don't have the patience to transition a true 3 tech into a 1 tech and expect him to be a world beater. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And that's largely what Elam was, right? Like we drafted a player that was not a scheme fit, but we hoped that we could transition him into a scheme fit. That's kind of where I'm at. I would also be upset if, for example, we went for a wide receiver that had a lot of similar characteristics to Keon Coleman, for example, right? Like we ended up going with another jump ball sort of guy or another physical guy. I think our needs are very clear, and it extends far past just the name of the position, but rather it is the type of player that comes with that position. In wide receiver, we need a vertical separator. We need somebody that has speed. We need somebody that can break ankles on the line, press man coverage, solid release. That's what we need on this offense. Defensive tackle, we 110% need a 1 tech, a guy that is dominant in the run game, that can draw double teams from the offensive line, that's a big body, that can open up everybody else. Safety, we need a guy that excels in coverage. We need a ball hawk out there. We need somebody that's going to be able to make plays and add to the turnover department. For CB2, we need a true zone corner. We do not need a guy that has predominantly ran a man-focused defense in college. That's kind of where I'm at. And I have confidence that this front office is going to draft that way. But I think my biggest gripe, like with this team, or is my biggest complaint, would be to draft a project player in the first 3 picks of this NFL draft. All I ask, regardless of what position we go with in the first and the second, let them be scheme fits. Please let them be scheme fits. That's my wish. All right. Can't Get Right 360 has come in and said, Dan, should we trade our first round pick for Trey Hendrickson? I'm good. I'm good on Trey Hendrickson, man. I actually have a lot of faith in what we're doing with this team. I'm good on Trey Hendrickson. Mikey, given your past statements, who would you be okay with if selected, Nolan or Harmon? Neither. Neither. I think that I would be, say that I had to pick, I'd probably have to go with the guy that has more size that I also believe could transition over to a 1 tech. It would probably be Nolan, but he is a born 3 tech. Like both of them are born 3 techs. Like they are out there and like they want to pressure the damn QB. Like they want to absolutely bust up runs in the backfield. Like those are those guys, right? Like we would be asking them to do a very boring job and completely transition what they were born to do. But I'm not even sure. We have G. Diaz is coming in. He's following up from the Josh Allen being moved. He says, I am not a Dolphins fan. I'm definitely a Bills fan. I just don't want this guy to end his career without a ring. I know that statement sounds off to say. I mean, look, here's the deal. Here's the deal. I am a Bills fan, right? Like, I am a Bills fan. I am not a player fan. And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow, right? Like, I am a Bills fan. Even if the Bills ended up trading Josh Allen next year, not going to happen, obviously, but say that he demanded his way out and he ended up signing a contract. So with the Dolphins. So I'm trying to think of the most extreme example. I would be praying for that man's downfall for the rest of his career. I would be praying for that man's downfall for the rest of his career. I am a Josh Allen fan because I am a Buffalo Bills fan, and only because he is a Buffalo Bill. Now, am I blessed that he's one of the best in the NFL and he's the MVP of this league? Absolutely. But nah, hell no. And so if Josh Allen ain't winning a ring in Buffalo, I don't want him winning a ring at all, baby. That's how I look at it. If Josh doesn't win a ring in Buffalo and he extends his career elsewhere, I hope he never does. That's where I'm at, baby. I'm a Bills fan. I'm not a player fan, baby. That's how it plays out. We have Kyle is coming in saying, if Cook moves on after next year, Bills take Najee Harris, who on a 1 year with the LA Chargers. Thoughts? Kyle is coming with this. So I think what Buffalo is going to do is, number one, we are going to move on from James Cook next offseason, and I think we are going to spend either our second round and or third round pick on a replacement for him. At that point, I think Ray Davis would really be stepping into his prime and will have an incredible season and would be able to fill those shoes almost perfectly. I don't think that I would go for a Najee Harris because, again, he's getting up there in age. What is he, 25 this year? He'll be 26 next. Absolutely not. Target somebody in the NFL draft. Running backs are one of the few position groups in any single draft class that, for the most part, don't require a lot of development. They can hit the ground running immediately, day one impacts, regardless of where you draft these guys. So I'd probably say no, right? Like, I'm fine bringing in veteran running backs, but not to be RB1 or not to dominate the vast majority of the carries. I am far more on board with picking a running back in the early rounds only when you need a running back in the early rounds. That's what I'm talking about. Statement. Dan, this is who I think win. The Bills win their division. The Ravens win their division. The Broncos win their division. Jags win their division. Rams, Commanders, Vikings, and the Panthers. Man, there are a lot of predictions that are coming up in here, and I can appreciate that. Gary, why is everyone forgetting about Gore Jr. and draft Scatabo? I don't think Buffalo is going to be drafting. I like Scatabo. He's going to be a great running back for this team. But I just feel like Scatabo is going in the second round, and running back is nowhere near a need for this team. So, unfortunately, he's not going to be there. And Gore Jr., yeah, I get it. He's Frank Gore's son, but is he Frank Gore? Right? Like, is he Frank Gore? That's the question. That's the question I feel like we all need answering. Let's see if he does step up in the preseason and he makes this roster. Who knows? You can transition tag him and get a second DW. XO put Jags crazy. Not going to lie. Trevor Lawrence would have to step up. Oh my God. We have G Diaz praying for his downfall. I understand you. Thanks for reading my comment, man. No issue at all. I love this segment of the show. It's where I turn exclusively over to my live chat to see how Bills Mafia feels about the topic at hand today. 110 of you currently watching live, 115 of you on X, 5 of you on Facebook. Guys, listen, if you are vibing with the show, please do me a favor and just hit that thumbs up sign. And if you are not subscribed, when you do, make sure you turn on bell notifications because I am live more than any man should be live on this platform. All right. And for those of you listening on podcast distributors, please consider leaving a rating and review if you are enjoying the show. Carvin has come in and said, Bob the ref will have a field day with slaps if Josh Allen leaves his team. Absolutely. Michael Ball Bell, excuse me. I said Denver won't get by Kansas City, and the Panthers come in dead last in the league. Don't sleep on the Panthers this year, man. I'm telling you that. Ruben, are you guys still have Gore Jr. on the roster? I thought you guys waived him. He was on the practice squad last year. Safety. If Bills take a running back in the second, it would be if one of the Ohio running backs fell. Oh, man. Would you draft a developmental QB3? Not this year. Next year, I probably would be intrigued. But like we already have Mitchie Biscuits under contract, and we have Mike White that is still technically under contract. He's probably our practice squad guy. I'd probably pass on a QB. There's no point there. We have Deshaun. Would you rather have a pass protection running back or a burst out of the running back? I am looking for offensive production. I absolutely love the way that our running back room is built right now because we have the best of both worlds, right? Like we have Ray Davis, who is truly a north and south guy who can run in between the tackles, solid yards after contact. And James Cook dominates in the pass game. He can get outside. He has the speed. And then Ty Johnson is that third round guy that's Ray Davis on steroids, just better size and also provides a bit of a threat in the pass game by itself. So I'd probably want to find a running back if, for example, James Cook was moved on from that has similar characteristics to him. DW, does anyone know how many Super Bowl winning quarterbacks were not married? Maybe that's what has been holding us back. When he ties the knot with Haley Steinfeld here at the end of May, at least from what I understand is reported, and so block this guy, guys. Moz, we can go ahead and just block this guy. He provides nothing to this live chat. We can just go ahead and just get rid of him. For anybody that is modding right now, please just go ahead and get rid of him, please. Mojo is coming. If we can't win a Super Bowl with the most talented quarterback in NFL history, then we truly are accursed and we will never win a ring. I swear to God, man. We're going to have to see. We are going to have to see. But folks, that's going to have to do it for another edition of the Bills Mafia Report. Guys, listen, I am live every single day, Monday through Friday, unpacking all of the trending topics surrounding your favorite team. Smash that like button for me, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, and stay tuned for later this afternoon when I unpack, all right, some of the top 30 visits that Buffalo has already conducted. Love you so much, and we will see you a bit later this afternoon. Peace.